Yes, I had an addition to that solar system, that solar utility hybrid system that I just posted under Grande, and there was some discussion about adding a generator to the system. There was a comment about when do you know to plug the freezers, in this case are the critical loads that are being backed up into a generator, like if the batteries get too low. And the comment I would have is that really it would probably be better rather than plug the critical loads into the generator directly. It would be better to plug the generator into the system. And the place to do that, first let me mention the way this works, because if you notice on the utility box in this utility solar hybrid system, there is this breaker which is utility power to the inverter, and there's a little note here that says it's normally off. And what I had mentioned in my previous video is that if you went through an extended power outage and then power was restored, you may choose to flip this breaker on, which would then transfer the critical loads over to the utility and charge the battery at the same time. So you can charge the battery through the inverter. It says right on the side of the thing that it's a inverter charger, has battery charging capability, and that way, if you were running during an extended power outage and batteries had gotten low, you can not only be running the freezers off the generator, but you can be charging the batteries so that when you shut the generator off, you can continue to run those freezers off the system, for a longer period of time. The one method of bringing the generator in would be to replace the utility breaker, to replace essentially the utility input to the inverter with the generator. So the generator would be inputting at this breaker here rather than the utility. And another method would be to do a transfer switch over here to the other side that would allow you to select between the utility and the generator as the input to the AC side of the inverter. So the other thing that I didn't mention when I talked about recovering from a deep discharge using the utility to help charge you back up is there are some different settings on the inverter that make that a more seamless process. And one would be the charger rate and battery size. And if you do decide to hook a generator up instead of the utility, we could tweak the charger rate so as to not overdraw the generator. You don't want to lug down your generator trying to charge the battery at a higher charge rate than is necessary. And remember, the critical loads that are backed up while that's happening are also running off the generator. And so it's possible, especially with smaller generators, to overdo that, overload the generator and bog it down. The other thing that I'd mention is, of course, this is a 120 volt system. So if your generator puts out 240, you'd only be running on one leg of the generator, unless it's a 120 only or gives you the option of full output at 120. So just a couple more thoughts on that. Oh, the other thing is the battery type. In either case, right now I believe the position 1 is selected here on this battery switch that's detailed above, and that's for a lead acid battery. I think it might be good to take that switch over to position 0 or 1, perhaps 1, which are EQ charges, which take the battery to a higher voltage during the charge cycle. And that might be a good thing to do to bubble up those batteries a little and get them EQ'd during that recovery charge, or just to do a maintenance charge through either the grid or the generator if you so wire it. to periodically condition the batteries by a slight overcharge, also known as an equalizing charge. Get all the cells in the battery string up to the same voltage level or above that level. In any case, those are a few more thoughts I had on this. There are ways to bring that generator in here, and there are ways to bring it in with a transfer switch that would allow selecting between the utility and the generator, and we can discuss that more, myself and the customer. So